Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Our guest today is Ian Snow. So Ian, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
Okay, absolutely. So yes, my name is Ian. I also just recently changed my new brand name on Twitter to Snow Scales. You know, the last name is Snow, so I wanted to combine that into my own personal brand. So I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, I live in Orland Park in Illinois. It's a very awkward state, not a ton of stuff to do. I would love to live in Florida or somewhere warm. And essentially what I do now is TikTok ads and meta ads for e-commerce brands, 7, 8, and 9-figure e-commerce brands. And we turn their content into cash. So we take their current content that they have that they aren't taking advantage of, and we essentially make it into a money-making machine through TikTok ads, whether that's native or TikTok shop.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Buffalo Grove, so very familiar with Orland Park. So in terms of like your background, how did you kind of get into, doing ads for e-commerce?
Okay. So it's a good question. So when I was 13, started my first clothing brand. I had two different clothing brands. One was Frost brand. The other one was Anunzi. The Anunzi was going to be more of like a luxury style, like outdoor enthusiast kind of product. But essentially what happened with that is I tried working with a big manufacturing company or a textile company. And so essentially I was going to have I wasn't 18 at the time, right? So I didn't have the financials to do it. I wasn't legally able to sign the contracts, but if I was able to, then it would have been a multi-million-dollar contract with them. They would have had this new laboratory-made clothing, which I found absolutely amazing. I'm probably going to start it a little bit later in the future because it's fantastic. One of the things I will tell you for the products, for example, was think about as if you were to wear AC, like air conditioning, right? So this shirt essentially it was like the others. It was moisture wicking. It was, wind blocking. But the other thing too is that the fabric itself would cool you down. So even if you threw it in the wash and then you put it in the dryer, it'd come out very hot. And then 30 minutes later, it's cool again. So you can be out in 100-degree weather. You could wear it in Arizona or whatever it is, and you wouldn't feel any of it. You would actually feel cool. And, it lacks the ability to get heat stroke, which is amazing. So I think that would save a lot of people's lives, especially in the desert. But then after COVID and after, a few years of getting sales for that brand and stuff, things died down, unfortunately. So then I had to pivot, but I loved e-commerce. So then I went towards somewhat of like learning advertisements. Before it was kind of like affiliate marketing. I kind of wanted to learn like how to advertise for other people. And so then I stopped the affiliate marketing because I was like, okay, I made a few bucks. I got 10,000 plus clicks for this brand. I knew how that worked. I used Bing and Google ads for that. So I kind of understood, how to get the, conversions through there. But then I was like, you know what? I wonder if this would work like in an agency or like for my own business doing this for other people. So then I met with this guy, let's just call him John, and he was the founder of a Google ads agency. And we started talking. He made me the COO. And after that, I started my first Twitter account where I was selling the Google ad services. I was the COO, and I was, helping different clients with communication and different results. I was the one that, did the sales and all this other stuff. He was the back end media buyer. And then that died down because I'm not going to lie, he kind of got lazy. He stopped doing what he needed to do. And I thought, I'm going to do my own thing. And I wasn't going to do any Google ads because not going to lie, Google ads are very complex. And I was like, you know what, even in terms of agencies, I felt like it was super saturated. So I went my own way and I started my company Ghost Ads. And the funny thing about Ghost Ads is like, I wasn't doing TikTok ads before. It wasn't TikTok ads, Google ads, nothing. It was Snapchat ads. I was doing Snapchat ads for e-commerce before and I kind of liked it, but then I started, sitting in the tables and meetings with Snapchat's team, and they were even kind of telling me that Snapchat's very inconsistent. I was even having like arguments with them, like, okay, how does it make sense that you could spend $100 here on this ad, make X amount, like $1,000, whatever, a day, and then as soon as you increase that from $50 a day in the budget to $100 a day in budget, then after a week or two, your whole entire performance just flatlines and you don't get any more consistent results. So it's like, how am I confident enough to bring it up my budget if it's very inconsistent? So I hated it. The AOV was excellent, but as long, as they weren't inconsistent and stuff like that, I just wanted to pivot out of there because it was super inconsistent. The AOV was great, but I mean, does that really matter if you have a high AOV for 2 days and then the next day you just are unprofitable? So I pivoted away from Snapchat. I did a couple of YouTube Shorts ads and all this other stuff, but then I was like, you know what? There has to be a different thing other than just meta ads. There has to be something else, right? And so that's where I came to TikTok ads. And so I was running those for e-commerce brands. I had some very freaking great results. Like, for example, $34,000 in ad spend for 230.2K in return in just 30 days, which was excellent for a swimwear brand. But something I did learn, a big lesson for another e-commerce brand that we had to offboard, was that you have to have a consistent, a team that can consistently make content for you, right? Because the whole social media era and society and their whole algorithm, whatever, things die very fast. So if you don't have a structure to consistently throw out content or whatever, you're going to die down. You're not going to go with the trends. You're basically going to be stuck at the 100 view jail, right? No one's going to really purchase anything from you. But if you have a way and you have loads of content or raw assets that can be edited or whatnot, then there's easily money that's on the table for you. You just have to get it, right? So so that's where I'm at now. I'm doing TikTok ads for e-commerce. Love it. I've been obsessed and addicted to e-commerce since I was 13, and that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome. So I guess, obviously you're doing TikTok and Meta, both two different platforms. And I'm curious in terms of where you've seen like the best results and kind of how, even if at all, do they work in sync? I'm sure you have some clients where you're doing both TikTok and Meta. So what does that look like from your perspective?
Okay. So I think with TikTok and Meta and stuff, it can vary depending on your audience and obviously the product and stuff, whether or not you're actually available or eligible for the TikTok shop. Like, let's say, for example, and you're in Canada, right? You can't go onto the TikTok shop, but you can run TikTok native ads to your website or to a landing page. So it can work very, very well for you. For example, like the swimwear brand, they were in Australia. TikTok shop is not available in Australia, but we ran TikTok native ads for them and made $230,000 in revenue, which was great for them. But then we also saw a lot of different traffic coming from TikTok, from that top of the funnel traffic, and spotting them in Google ads and Meta ads and just seeing a bunch of sales from there. So what I would say is the reason why I'm combining TikTok and Meta ads is because the way I see it is that TikTok, it kind of counts in both. It's mostly great for top of the funnel because the way I see it is with TikTok, it's almost like a TV in your hand, right? So when everyone's scrolling on TikTok or whatever, they're trying to kill time. They're trying to, watch all the videos that they can before a meeting comes up or before, anything, work or, dinner or whatever it is. They try to kill time, right? So any video that shows up on their For You page, even an advertisement, they're going to watch at least 2 seconds of it, right? To see if it's even worth their time because they want to just waste time. They're addicted to their phone while they're doom scrolling. So the way I see it is it's perfect for top of the funnel. So the way it would work is either it's great for top of the funnel and then later on they'll remember your name or your advertisement and go to different platforms and pay, or they'll see your ad, like the video, and then TikTok will keep on pushing those videos towards them on TikTok, and then they'll just buy it on the TikTok shop. right? Because if they see reviews, they'll trust it. They'll see UGC content creators. TikTok is boosting another thing or another update where UGC content creators are actually getting reviews for their trustworthiness on their product reviews. And so that's going to increase the likeliness of people trusting those people to make more videos about products and to buy off of their videos. But again, to answer your question, is like a lot of the time I'll also see if they're not getting purchases on the TikTok shop and it's just top of the funnel for the first time before retargeting it on and all the other stuff, then I like to say that Meta is the overall like payment processor. It takes in the transactions. It's the bottom of the funnel kind of thing. But I know either way, you're going to make a ton of money on TikTok and Meta. But I like to think of it as like if they aren't buying anything on TikTok, if you aren't getting the transaction on TikTok, you're definitely going to retarget them on Meta and get the sale. So that's kind of why we do both, right? So I see Meta as more of like the bottom of the funnel. They're going to just search up the brand or they're going to see a static ad on Meta and go, shoot, I remember seeing that. I'm going to take a look at this and buy it, right? I don't know why people are just more likely to buy things on Meta. I think it's just because they're hesitant. It's something out of their comfort zone with TikTok shop and all this other stuff because some people conflate it with like Temu and all this other stuff because there's so many sales, there's so many like coupons and they just feel like it's a discount war. But honestly, I think both TikTok Shop and Meta are fantastic. I just think that TikTok is either a top of the funnel or a bottom of the funnel platform. But once we use our strategies, we actually target all parts of the funnel. So we essentially take in all the stuff that's working on TikTok and we repurpose that crap on Meta, retargeting that same audience. Man, it makes a lot of money. So, but yeah, I like to say for starters, if you're testing TikTok ads, it's going to be in the first week, it's going to be just primarily top of the funnel. And then you're going to see more conversions through Meta. But then after the first week or two, you're going to see a bunch of different conversions coming through TikTok, especially if your TikTok shop is optimized, which we do. But yeah, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah. So essentially the best way they can work in saying TikTok is more top of funnel, Meta can be more middle, bottom funnel. So it's kind of finding a way to have those two work in sync. And I guess in terms of certain brands, right? Like, do you see there's certain types of verticals or certain types of AOV that make more sense for TikTok as opposed to Meta? What does that look like from your perspective?
So, okay, for average order values, it typically depends. What I've seen happen a lot is, let's just say for the example purposes for like the swimwear brand, AOVs typically ranged from like $70 to $110. So that was a good thing because it was clothing. So it depends on like the product you have. Let's say I believe it's Luxie Nails for one of the nail brands. Shout out to her. I love her. So with them, I could be wrong. I haven't seen it in a couple of months, that her, dashboard and all this stuff. But I believe that since her product is about $8 or so, her average order value is a little bit low, especially after the tax. I think it's like only $12 or something like average order value, or unless they buy the bundle, which I believe is about $15. So after tax, they're usually like $20. But I think the AOV range typically is going to be depending on your product. If it's a low end like priced product, your AOV is probably going to be roughly in like the $15 to $30. But if it's a little bit pricier, like in the $49 range or whatever it is, if it's in a bundle or if it's just a singular item that can last them a while, the AOV could, also be determined and vary depending on that as well. But I think if it's like a $49, $99 product, you're usually going to see an AOV, depending on how good the videos are, maybe an $80 AOV or just a $50 AOV. But that's typically just because consumers are, again, skeptical and they want to test things out from the TikTok shop first. They'll pay the first initial price for the first product. And then after that, you're going to start seeing like huge AOVs after that because people are going to go, oh, crap, I don't have enough of it. It's only $8. I tested it. I gave it a review. I think it's fantastic. I'm going to buy more of it now. So then you're going to see AOVs of like 20 plus for an $8 item or whatever, because they're going to buy a lot more, if that makes sense. And then they're going to go through your shop and see a bunch of other different variants of that product. And then they're going to buy those ones. So I think it all depends. Again, it does depend on every brand, like depending on how great you are at advertising all of the products, not just one, because that's a mistake that I see with every single TikTok shop brand, is that they'll have one bestseller, just one. And it makes sense, like they're focusing on that bestseller product, but I'll only see videos of that bestseller. They'll have like 20 different products in their shop. They won't advertise anything for that product, only their bestseller. And I always look at them and I'm like, okay, you have 120,000 sold for this one product, but then you look at your shop and all these other products are like 25 sold or like 50 sold. It's like, well, if you just use the same strategies for that bestseller, you can have 100K sold on these other ones. And if you just start creating content, you can have a lot more money, monthly reoccurring revenue than you could just with this one bestseller, right? Because if you already have 151,000 units sold or whatever, and that, let's say your target market or whatever is 300K people or something like that, it's going to be a lot harder to just keep on consistently getting new customers through those advertisements if you're just stuck in that 100K to 200K sold range for that bestseller, because maybe they already bought it. You know, maybe they didn't like it. Maybe they loved it, but they already bought enough of that one product that they're not going to buy it for a few months, right? Now you have to focus on different products. You got to focus on your other, let's just say hairbrush or big bundles or whatever it is. You have to focus on multiple different things than just your bestseller. I don't know why. It frustrates me every time I see that. 100K sold here and then 10 and 9 on the other ones. It's like you want to make more money, but you're not creating content for all of your products. Like I get like it's more work, but having a bunch of different video ads, and you don't want to overwhelm your consumers, obviously. But my guess or my suggestion would be focusing on one bestseller first, get a lot of sales for that. And then once you have a lot of sales for that, pivot and, give your audience a variety. Once they start seeing the same product over and over and over again, they're not going to purchase it. Once they bought it once or twice or 3 times, they're going to go, okay, they're just going to, you know what they're going to do? They're not even going to look at your content. They're just going to go to the TikTok shop, click on your product, and just buy it again, right? They're not even going to look at your videos. Maybe it'll be a reminder, but it's not going to be anything different. They're just going to buy the same product. So once you have different products coming out, they're going to go, I bought that old one. This one looks interesting. I'm going to buy this one now. Now you have 2 different products that they're going to buy every single month. So you just doubled your reoccurring revenue just like that. So,
exactly. So if you could go back in time to before you started this business, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
Great question. So if I had to go back in time for the specific business, let's see. Honestly, there isn't like a huge thing that I would have to change. But if I went back in time like 2 or 3 years, I wouldn't have even started with Snapchat ads. If I were to have went with Meta, because I know before the iOS 14 update, then it would have been crazy good. I would have done that. But honestly, if it was 3 years ago, 4 years ago, let's just say before iOS 14, here's the other thing. I would actually go full time on Snapchat and TikTok. And the reason why I'm saying that now is because Snapchat before the iOS 14 update was almost more powerful than Meta ads, or was just equal to it. Their data was so good because their policy wasn't as strong or strict. So you were able to look at the dashboard and see who exactly purchased your product, what exact interests they were, what app were they on, or what device they were on, and when they purchased it. And you can actually look exactly who purchased the product, what time, what country, and you were able to look at the database to see like, okay, this group or demographic or whatever from this country is buying it at this time every single night. So we're just going to put this advertisement and we're going to push it out at this time. You were able to set the times that you were going to, like other platforms you're able to do, like TikTok and all this other stuff, but you were able to do that much more easily because you were able to see exactly who and what age group. Now you try to go to that database section or whatnot, it is blank. It is blank. I got so frustrated at that. I would go, oh my gosh, 100 orders. Let's see what demographic. Nope. They don't even tell you anything about who bought anything.
Yeah, it's
horrible.
Interesting. Well, Ian, if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you, do you mind sharing your website, social media, I guess best ways to get in contact?
Absolutely. So best contact is my Twitter, which is at snowscales. So it's the snow, SNOWSCALEZ. Right? Because the S for scales was taken, I guess. So I wanted to use the Z because that's available on all platforms. So Snow Scales, again, it's at Snow Scales, SNOWSCALEZ. GHOSTALEEZ. And then for my website, it is ghostads.co, not com, ghostads.co. And you'll see a lot more information about what we do, pricing, etc. And yeah, so that's going to be ultimately the best spot that you could check out and reach out to me.
So, well, Ian, thanks so much for your time today.
Of course, no problem. It's a pleasure being on here.